Right, ladies and gentlemen, time now to reimagine travel and tourism. And as travel habits continue to evolve, we find ourselves at a crossroads. On one side, there's a growing demand for meaningful escapes, disconnecting from the digital world. And on the other, we have the rise of blending work and travel together. So, time now to find out how companies are innovating to cater to new traveler demands. So, let's join the experts. Please give a very warm welcome to Chitra Gurnani Daga, who is the founder of Thrillophilia. A very warm welcome to Chitra. Great to have you here. And Vikramjit Loomba is the director of PwC, and he is our second panelist for our session. Wonderful to have you both here. Yes, please do take a seat here. We'll stick to the middle here of the stage. Brilliant to have you both here, reimagining travel and tourism and some of the habits that we're seeing at the moment. Chitra, why don't you start us off with a general landscape overview of some of the travel trends and habits that you're seeing over in India in particular?
Working? Yeah. Thank you. Travel has changed over the last decade big time. Back in 2011, when we started, we were selling activities and experiences to Indian customers online. And at that point of time, there weren't transactions happening. Indians were buying books on Flipkart. Indians just started booking some taxis on Taxi for Sure and Ola at that point of time. Uber did not come into the market yet. And Amazon was also selling books only at that point of time. So we started with travel in India in those days with no transactions happening. Kept pivoting the model, but today, 10 years from then, the same Indian consumer has evolved so much, and he and she is coming on the platform and buying activities and experiences standalone. When I say standalone, it means a hot air balloon ride in Jaipur. It could be a sightseeing tour of the city of Goa. It could be the entrance ticket to Burj Khalifa. All of this is being booked online in India. So that's one change that has happened. The other very important change that I've seen in the Indian customer is post-COVID, immersive experiences have come along. People are not booking simple sightseeing tours. So the traditional Indian is known to cover more destinations in less days. So the typical European holiday that an Indian goes to, the first European holiday, would cover 7 countries at least.
Wow.
Touch and go, touch and go, touch and go. So, and that's how they travel, right? But that's changing. We get complaints for those tours. We've stopped those tours. We're saying, let's do 3 countries, but let's spend time at a country, because that's what the traveler wants now. So the same Indian customer has evolved and is saying, I want immersive experiences. Our Ladakh tours have half a day in the monastery where the customers sit and do meditation with the monks. And it's a 30-minute added experience because that's the demand today. We take them out for immersive lunches in villages with the locals. So Rajasthan is known for Lal Mas. Now there is a curated culinary experience created for our guests where we take them, and in the olden age chulas made of coal and mud, the cooking is done in front of them and then they enjoy the meal there. So there's a lot more immersive experiences that has come out. A third trend that I've seen is with the Gen Z travelers and the millennial travelers. These are the people who are looking to explore more now. So honestly, a decade ago, it's okay. They would just do trekking and camping and that's done. But today, they want to do a lot more. They want to explore a lot more. They want to try out every other activity, every other thing that is possible. So the younger generation has become a lot more exploratory in nature over and above being adventurous. So I think these were the 3 typical trends that I've seen over the last decade change for the Indian customer.
Really interesting, especially these immersive experiences where you really, really feel the essence of someone else's culture and really be in the mix of it. I think that's absolutely incredible and nice to hear that those are very much on the rise as well. Vikramjit, over to you. Now, obviously you're PwC, give us your insights, your latest insights and some of the trends that is maybe happening on even a global scale, and maybe you can hone in on the region a little bit here as well.
Sure, certainly. So, tourism, as we all know, it's a big contributor to the GDP, to the economy, to employment and job creation. There are certain destinations within the Middle East, such as Dubai, that have always been very proactive in terms of promoting tourism, bringing in tourists and sort of promoting themselves as a destination. I think there are Saudi, for example, if you see, is really trying to diversify the economy. Do various projects across different types of tourism. So, certain projects like NEOM, or if you look at, Al Ula, that focuses on heritage tourism. If you look at Qiddiya, for example, that looks at sports and adventure. The typical resort, sun and sand experience in the Red Sea. So I think, Saudi is coming a long way. Oman, as we all know, those of us who've traveled to Oman is beautiful. I think it's an amazing destination. They've been quite particular, sort of focused in terms of what kind of tourists that they want. They probably need to, maybe open up a little more to try and promote tourism. So yeah, I mean, I personally believe in this region, particularly as it diversifies away from oil. Qatar, for example, is another, is trying to promote tourism. I think the more they diversify from, oil and gas, one of the key sectors that is going to fill that, that economy or that revenue gap is going to come from tourism.
And sustainability, that aspect, I want to touch on a little bit later as well. But really interesting, you spoke about Saudi and how that's opened up, because it's got very much, areas that have never been touched before. So for a traveller, a global traveller, it's obviously quite an appealing place. But we're going to talk about heritage a little bit later on as well. But I just wanted to quickly talk about generative AI and the sort of appeal of this as well, and how that's very much changing the industry as a whole. It's very much becoming a serious competitor to traditional travel websites, which is normally, what everyone does is, go straight onto the website. But Gen AI, tell us a little bit more about how that's really mixing things up.
I think that's adding a lot of value to the ecosystem. Couple of years ago, what happened with data? That's happening with AI today. When data came in the story, everybody was like, there's so much data about the consumer that we have, right? But how do we use that data? Can I make sense of that data and do a lot of personalization? So let's say you love large swimming pools every time you travel because your kids like swimming. And that's a data insight which is stored in my system, right? Now, how do I use this for personalization? Something very similar is happening now on the lines of AI, where all this data, all these insights are being utilized, and AI is taking over the entire process of itinerary planning. So you really don't need to now talk to an expert and ask him that give me a suggestion, how do I plan my itinerary? And now this expert is going to sit and take a whole day to create an itinerary, talk to a supplier, get some prices and do the entire processing and get back to you after 2 days, and then you suggest him 3 changes and he takes another 2 days, right? All that is now saved. With generative AI coming in, so much data in place, data analysis in place, and AI on top of it, it's changing the way things can be booked, things can be accessed, the way I can go to the website and plan my own itinerary. I mean, that's how every other travel platform will be evolving very soon.
Are you seeing the same thing as well? And how is the dynamic shifting?
Yeah, I mean, look, technology for the younger generation, they're far more comfortable with it, yeah, in terms of its usage. Personally, me, myself, or maybe, certain people of, in my age are, sort of prefer to get the actual experience. The common thread, be it in any generation, the point is, whatever be the aspect of tourism, whether it's culture, whether it's heritage, whether it's food, or any other experience that a destination has to offer, regardless of age, everybody wants to experience it. It's just how they do it, which is different. I think, with the advent and the growth of these technologies, and of course, the younger generation, as the new generation comes up, they're, far more comfortable sort of handling technology than, people like me, right? So there will definitely be a shift. It really remains to be seen, how countries or destinations are able to promote themselves, because at the end of the day, it is an employment generator. It is a contributor to the GDP. Would they focus on that as a source of revenue, or would they really want to welcome people and and really have that real life experience? That only time will tell.
I'd be interested to hear, what the different type of traveller that's emerging. I mean, in my introduction, I very much spoke about, the person that wants, a holiday/work trip. And then there's the other person who wants a complete digital detox. People who just want to sort of break free of all types of technology. So in terms of the different type of traveller that's emerging, I think also from COVID, we've got very environmentally conscious travellers now as well. Are you seeing that, those three different sides picking up as well?
Absolutely. I think sustainability is going to be the next thing in travel. Travelers are becoming conscious. See, at the end of it, to a consumer, what finally matters is the value that he gets in the money that he spends, right? Being environmental conscious is one side of me as a traveler, right? But at the end, when I pay, I see what value I get. Now, this is where the policies, the governments can play a major role in actually promoting sustainable practices. To give you an example, the Machu Picchu in Peru has a very fragile ecosystem. And if you look at it, the number of travelers that come there, the visitors that come there, could be very damaging to the ecosystem. But the way they have used technology for sustainability, with drones and surveillance technology, actually tracking real-time visitor movement. They have heat maps of where visitors are overcrowding, and using all of that, they're able to control the visitor flow, strict regulations of number of visitors who can enter the place, policies that they have to follow, the eco-friendly, the subsidies that they have on eco-friendly accommodations for the visitors. All these things actually make it all the more sustainable. And that kind of thing is going to be the next big thing in travel.
Really interesting, because we were speaking earlier about heritage tourism and different sort of areas when it comes to outweighing the potential harm as opposed to the economic benefits of tourism. And we've seen quite a lot of backlash, actually.
Yeah.
I think it's especially over this summer, especially in European cities. A lot of these local communities have very much been lashing out. They're fed up of all these tourists, but, they're essential to these local economies. So how do we find a balance with that?
You see, we just talked about that a little while ago. So sustainability in tourism is an absolute must. And I think, as time grows and even among the younger generation, they're far more conscious about sustainability and across, generally their life and all their practices. So it is definitely something that is going to flow over to tourism as well. The important thing, what I want to say here is finding that balance between, economic benefits and sort of, not overstepping into communities. I think a lot of the initiative and the effort and control over tourism aspects should really be left to local communities. Because at the end of the day, whether it's employment opportunities, it is opportunities to showcase their own culture and heritage, and deriving some economic benefit out of it versus whatever the consequences of over tourism can be. It's for them to benefit and it's for them to sort of bear the consequences. A lot of times, if you look at stakeholders broadly, if you look at government, if you look at locals or local communities, and if you look at maybe some developers who sort of benefit from it, generally you find a very sort of a top-down approach, governments leading the way in this. I think going forward, probably just to find the right balance is to let a sort of a bottom-up approach come up, where local communities and the private sector really are the participants in how they interact with each other, maybe with a little bit of with the government playing as sort of a bridge between the various parties.
I mean, it definitely needs to be a coordinated approach, if not, I suppose, top down, because that's the only way, because I suppose it's not a tourist's fault if they go to an overcrowded place, they're just there to sort of see the sights, and then there's backlash from, the local community, but you can understand their upsets at the same time, sort of thing. So do you think that there is a risk as well of over-modernizing cultural and heritage tourism, really losing maybe the essence of that cultural experience? Is that a worry?
See, that certainly is a worry, no doubt about it. But I think there is an experience for everyone. There are people who still love the traditional ryokan experience in Japan. I mean, no matter how much tech and AI I bring into it, you cannot recreate that experience. The feel that they have when they get into that traditional guest house of Japanese, and they get into the onsen, which is a bath built in nature, with hot spring water into it. Then they sit down for a tea ceremony, and then they have the kayasaki meal, which is prepared from the local ingredients. Now, as I speak about this experience, the only thing is we can imagine ourselves being there and doing it, feeling it, right? So that can't be replaced, for sure. A replacement is not possible, but yes, over-modernizing will kill the essence, but there are people who would always go for the real experience, I believe.
So do you think, with the use of VR, because I know this is quite a hot topic at the moment as well, where you can actually plan your trips with the use of VR, and you can take a look at what you're about to do, and especially with these immersive experiences, does that ruin the whole point, though? Once you've, used that type of technology, you've almost already done it. So do you think what are the pros and cons around that?
So I think it really helps in promoting a destination, that's for one. For the visitors, for the travelers, it definitely helps them in planning their itinerary, or for that matter, even deciding whether they do want to go to a particular destination or not. However, I think, once, I mean, if you use it as a marketing tool or for the end user to really plan themselves out, I think the actual experience of being in a particular place is extremely important. Because you see, you can use technologies to get to know a place, but the real experience of traveling, experiencing the local food, local culture, interacting with the local community, the people, is not something that you can, unless you actually experience it, it's not something that you really get to feel. So it's really got to be a right balance between the two. I don't think it's really a fight, this or that, or who's going to win. I just believe, the two can really work together to create a better experience for visitors. Yeah.
And a great way to promote different destinations, of course, because it's all about what you're about to experience, or what you can experience at the end of the day. So yeah, it really is raising the bar. It's also raising expectations, though, I suppose, as well. But yeah, really interesting indeed. So just with a minute to go, tell us what you're sort of seeing in terms of the future of travel. 5 to 10 years from now, where do you think we're going to be? What type of experiences do you think are going to sort of shift our focus? I mean, COVID very much changed the way we travel and the way we think about the world and things. So, I mean, goodness knows what's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years. Hopefully nothing like that ever again. But the traveler in the next 5 to 10 years in terms of the way technology is advancing right now?
I think we are all very, very clearly visualizing the traveler to be a lot more hands-on on the device and booking things on the go. As of now, there's a lot of planning that the traveler still does. I think there will be two parts to it. The popular routes will be on the go, and the not so popular experiences, which is the immersive experiences. Those are the things which will get into the planning phase of it. And this entire story will be dominated by AI. I don't see travel companies having a lot of destination experts. I don't see them having a lot of salespeople. I don't see them customizing packages. It's all going to be on the go, on the tech. People can look at things, book themselves, and be done with it. The way we are doing e-commerce today, I clearly see travel holidays becoming e-commerce as we move ahead.
Really interesting. What's your take on
So,
maybe the
yeah.
future traveler as well as
Yeah,
the trends?
absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, I was just going to say, we talked about technology, we talked about AI, we talked about sustainability, ecotourism. I think, health and wellness is something that is, really going to pick up, be it physical or mental health. There's going to be huge advancement, I think, over the next decade or so in terms of mobility, transportation, also in terms of connectivity, the way we look at, passport scanning, airports, and, those kind of things. I guess, at the end of the day, when all is said and done, there will still be people like me around who will want traditional forms of hospitality, yeah?
Brilliant. Well, really, really fantastic to have you both here. Sadly, we have run out of time. Cannot thank you enough for those insights, and fascinating to see what's happening in the travel industry right now, and very exciting to see what's ahead of us as well. So thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Chitra and Vikramjit, thank you.